Hi guys and welcome to Strength Universe. After recently watching a video by Big Loz Official about the competitors for the UK's Strongest Man, I thought I'd make a video introducing you to one of the competitors that Loz spoke so highly of. Andy Black was born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1989 and is currently 31 years old. He first started going to the gym just over 2 years ago in an effort to lose weight and become fitter before his 30th birthday. But after doing a deadlift of close to 200 kilograms or 440 pounds on his very first day at the gym, he realised he was strong and started to incorporate Strongman into his training, which was something that he'd watched on TV over the years and thought that it looked fun. After just 3 months of training, Andy competed in his first ever Strongman competition, the Gateshead Strongest Novice, where he competed in a series of events including a 100 kilogram log press for reps, a 180 kilogram deadlift for reps, a farmer's walk for 40 metres with 100 kilograms in each hand, and finally a 120 kilogram stone over bar. Andy put in a solid performance and won the competition. Shortly afterwards, he was back in the gym receiving coaching from Ben the Badger Browning in preparation for his next competition that would take place just over 6 months later, on the 21st of July, when Andy would compete at Cummingham's Strongest Man. After winning 2 events and coming in second place in the other 3, Andy would eventually finish the competition in the runner-up spot behind eventual winner Josh Crowley. He would next compete 2 weeks later at Newcastle's Strongest Man, where he would unfortunately suffer an injury. The competition started out well enough, with Andy doing the log press for max and a 240 kilogram deadlift for reps, but during the sandbag carry he would take a minor fall before getting up and continuing to a 260 kilogram frame carry, but things would go from bad to worse when he dropped the frame on his foot, resulting in 2 broken toes. Despite the pain, Andy soldiered through the Conan's wheel and the Atlas stones that weighed from 90 kilograms to 160 kilograms, eventually finishing the competition in a very respectable 3rd place. Just 3 weeks later, Andy would be participating in his first ever open strongman competition, Gwyneth's Strongest Man, where he would be competing against some of the country's best strongmen, and despite a valiant effort would finish just off the podium in 4th place.
3, 2, 1, go!
Come on, Andy! Do it, Andy!
That's it, Andy, come on!
Go on, Andy!
Come on, back in.
Over the next few months, Andy trained with John Pollock, Ben Brunning and others to make improvements to his strength and technique.
Easy, come on! Yeah!
In early 2020, Andy and John Pollock opened a small strongman gym called West Coast Strength and Conditioning that would help Andy take his training to the next level. Andy competed in his first competition of 2020 at the end of February, where he took 3rd place and set a couple of new personal bests. Andy wouldn't compete for a few months, instead focusing on training in preparations for his next competition that would be Belfast Strongest Man. In July, just 5 months after Andy and John opened West Coast Strength and Conditioning, they relocated the gym to a much larger premises. Andy competed at Belfast Strongest Man on the 13th of September, and the first event up was the 290 kg deadlift for reps. And as he was the first competitor to go, he didn't have a target to aim for, so he completed 8 comfortable reps, which gave him second place. Next up was the overhead press medley, starting with a 125 kg log, followed by a 78 kg Thomas Inch dumbbell, a 100 kg stone block, a 125 kg axle, and then the final implement was a 145 kg log, although the video ends, so I'm not sure whether Andy had to press this, but I do know that he finished this event in second place. Andy took first place for the 310 kg frame carry that had to be carried 30 metres without the use of straps. Unfortunately, there's no video footage of the final 2 events, but Andy took third place in the 380 kg super yoke for 30 metres and first place for the 160 kg Atlas stone for reps. Andy put in a solid performance to finish in the top 3 of all 5 events to win the title of Belfast Strongest Man. Over the next few months in the lead up to Scotland's Strongest Man, Andy worked with John Pollock and Ben Brunning as usual, but also with Andy Bolton to make improvements to his deadlift. Andy competed at Scotland's Strongest Man on the 13th of December 2020. The event was held behind closed doors due to COVID restrictions, and despite the absence of some of the best competitors in Luke and Tom Stockman, Andy would still face some tough competition. And things didn't get off to the best of starts when he would finish the very first event at log press in last place. Andy would redeem himself in the second event, the deadlift for reps, completing 9 repetitions with the 310 kg weight to take first place. The third event was the Farmer's Walk, which required the athletes to carry a 135 kg weight or 297 pounds per hand down a 75 metre course, and Andy would put in another excellent performance to take first place.
Come on, Andy! That's it, Andy, come on! Come on! That's it, come on! That's it, Andy, dig in, mate, dig in, let's go! Get that, Andy!
Andy would take victory in a fourth and final event, the stone lift for reps, by completing 9 repetitions, and in doing so earned enough points to take the overall victory and the title of Scotland's Strongest Man for 2020. Just a week after winning Scotland's Strongest Man, Andy would compete for one final time in 2020 at the West Coast push-pull meet, where he narrowly missed out on setting a new deadlift PB of 405 kilograms or 893 pounds. He would take a couple of weeks off from training in the lead up to Christmas, returning shortly afterwards to start preparing for the Ultimate Strongman Scottish qualifiers.
This is it.
Andy competed in the Ultimate Strongman Scottish qualifiers on the 18th of April. The first event was the log press ladder, and overhead pressing being Andy's weakest event, he finished last. The second event was the axle deadlift shown here, which required the competitors to pull a 300 kg or 661 pound weight as many times as possible. For Andy, this was 8 reps, which was good enough for joint first place.
Come on, back man. Come on, Andy. Keep it going. Come on. Come on. Keep it going, Andy. Come on, back man.
Andy would take victory in the third event, the farmer's walk, carrying 150 kg or 330 pound weights for a distance of 40 metres.
Good, Andy. Come on. Come on, big man. Good. Good, big man.
The fourth event was the bag over bar, which required the competitors to throw the 18 to 25 kg sandbags over a bar of a fixed height in the quickest time possible. Andy did this in just over 13 seconds, which gave him the victory and set a new record. The final event was a loading race or keg carry that required the competitors to initially carry 3 125 kg or 275 pound kegs over the bar, before moving on to a 145 kg or 320 pound keg that needed to be placed over the bar, and then finally a 175 kg or 386 pound keg. This event was another win for Andy, which gave him first place in the overall competition and qualified him to compete at the UK's Strongest Man at the end of May, where he will compete in his first ever 3-day competition against some of the country's best strongmen. And looking at the event, I think he has a very good chance of making a final and finishing in one of the top 3 places. In the 2 years since Andy first started training, he's competed in 8 strongman competitions, finished on the podium 7 times and taken 4 victories. His deadlifts jumped from 200 kg to 400 kg and his squat from 60 kg to 300 kg, which shows he clearly has the potential to do well in the sport. But as always, I'd like to know your opinion, so please leave a comment below letting me know how you think Andy will get on at the UK's Strongest Man. I've left links to his social media in the description below, so please check that out and give Andy a follow. If you enjoyed today's video, please help support my channel by smashing like, sharing the video and subscribing. Thank you.